Continuing on with our analysis of Pirkei Avos. Perek Aleph, Mishnah Dalet. Perek Aleph, Mishnah Dalet, the Tana says, Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreida, v'Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim kiblu mehem. Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreida omer, Yivezcha beis vad l'chachamim, v'have misapek be'alfa raglayim, v'have sheisa v'tzama es divreihem. The Tana is telling us that your house, your home, should be a gathering place for Talmidei Chachamim. And you should attach yourself to them. You should cleave to Talmidei Chachamim, to the dust of their feet, and drink thirstily in their words. You should attach yourself to Chachamim and be close to Talmidei Chachamim. Now when we look at the Mishnah and we analyze it, it seems to be out of order. The first thing the Mishnah says is that your home, your house, should be a gathering place for Chachamim. Well, one would think that the first thing the Tana should be telling us is that attach yourself to Talmidei Chachamim. Be close to Talmidei Chachamim. Have a misabik ba'afar raglayim, and drink from their words. Be close to them. Another stage is let your house be a gathering place. But one would think that the first thing the Tana should be telling us is what you have to do. You have to be close to Chachamim. You have to seek out Talmidei Chachamim. You have to thirst to hear their words. Another level would be that your home should be a gathering place. And furthermore, many people don't have home. A bacher doesn't have a house to gather Talmidei Chachamim, but the instruction should be to a bacher that attach yourself to Talmidei Chacham. Go listen to the Talmidei Chacham. Hear what they have to say. Take in their words. Thirst for their knowledge. Thirst for their direction. At a later stage in life, your home, your house will be a gathering place. But why is that the first thing the Tana says? Your home, it comes at a later stage in life. Yet this is the first thing that the Tana says. Additionally, the Lashon seems to be a change in the Lashon, a shinui in the Lashon. The Tana says, Yehi veischa beis vad l'chachamim. And then it says, Vehevei mizapek ba'avarga, Vehevei sheisa v'tzama es divreihem. Why the change in the Lashon? First, the Tana says, Yehi veischa beis vad l'chachamim, and then the latter portions of it, it says, Vehevei misabek, Vehevei sheisa v'tzama es divreihem. Why the change in the Lashon? Perhaps we can suggest that what the Tana is really teaching us is, certainly we have to cleave to Chachamim. And the Tana is telling us to do that. Certainly we have to drink their words, take in their words thirstily. We have to have a thirst to hear the Chachamim. We have to attach ourselves. Definitely that's the message. But the Tana is also telling us and instructing us that the way that we will achieve that, how can we achieve that if we don't naturally have that inclination? Make your house, make your home a gathering place for Chachamim, and then you'll develop that trait. You'll develop that netiyah, and it'll become part of you, and become part of your personality. You'll want it. If you don't have already that character trait, if you don't have that midah of running after Chachamim, of thirsting for their knowledge, of attaching, cleaving to Talmidei Chachamim, how can we achieve this? How can we instill that in ourselves? If we make our home a gathering place for Chachamim, then we will develop that trait. We will develop that netiyah. We'll develop that shukah and that desire. We'll become close to Talmidei Chachamim. They'll become part of our lives. And then we will want to hear more and more of what they have to tell us and follow their instructions. And perhaps that's why there's a shinui in the Lashon. Yehi veischa beis vad l'chachamim. That's what it should be. Make it. Make your house a gathering place for chachamim. Yehi. You should do that. That's what you have to strive to do. Make your house a gathering place for chachamim, and vehevei misabeg ba'afar raglaim. And then it'll come. And then you'll develop that trait, vehevei, and that'll come on its own. It's a passive. It'll happen. Vehevei sheisa b'samel. It's not a directive, it's not a command, and the Tana doesn't say yehi, sheisa b'samel, vehevei, it'll come on its own. The Tana is telling us to attach ourselves to Chachamim. The Tana is telling us that we should thirst for their knowledge. The Tana is telling us to make our home a gathering place for Chachamim, but the Tana is also being memramas to us and telling us that if you do that, if you make your home a gathering place for Chachamim, then you'll develop that trait. And it'll change your life. Your lives will be changed if you do that. Many years ago, when my parents came, Holocaust survivors, they came to Toronto. They were in the camps, and they came to Toronto in the late 50s. And it was a struggle. Late 40s, not late 50s. They came in the late 40s to Toronto. 1948. It was a struggle. It was a struggle to build up after the Holocaust. It was a struggle to build up financially. It was difficult. They came penniless. They came without any support. And it was a great struggle, but slowly, bit by bit, Baruch Hashem, Chazdei Hashem, they rebuilt their lives. And as my father his business was starting to grow, and he was just starting to get on his feet and establish himself, he was approached by Mr. Meyer Lubavitch, Zechreno Levrocha. And he approached my father and he said, Toronto needs a yeshiva. I want to start a yeshiva in Toronto, and I need people to help support. I need people to join the board. And my father said, I'm just starting to establish my business. I can hardly breathe. I don't have time to breathe. How can I join the board of a yeshiva? I'm working day and night, and I'm working, come home for Shabbos totally exhausted, and Motzei Shabbos I have to go back then and go back into work. And I have hardly time to eat and to breathe. How can I join the board in the yeshiva? He said, don't worry. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. I'll take care of everything. I just need to show the community that we have support, that the people in the city are supporting it. I just need your name. I just need your name. You don't have to do anything. I'll take care of everything. But you should know, this is important for you. You should join the board, because if you join the board, you'll have connection to Rosh Yeshivas, you'll have connection to Talmidei Chachamim, it'll change you, it'll change your family. You're just starting to build up a family. It'll change your life and help you build up a Torah life. So it's very good for you. You should do it. You should do it and join the board. But you don't have to worry. I'll take care of everything. Hashavua, he did all the fundraising. He did all the organization. And my father didn't have any shibud with it. However, after a few months, he had a massive heart attack. Meyer Lubavitch had a massive heart attack. And in those days, with a heart attack, a massive heart attack, they weren't as advanced medically as they are today. And the patient was in the hospital for months on end. You couldn't even speak to him on the telephone. He was completely locked away in the hospital, quarantined, and you had no access to him. And suddenly, suddenly the whole old and the whole shibud of the yeshiva fell on my father's shoulders. Meir Lubavitch was in the hospital for months, and even after he got out of the hospital, he was very weak and he could not resume his responsibilities. And suddenly, the whole old fell on my father. So, coupled with the incredible burden that he had in trying to establish a business and a family after the Holocaust, suddenly he had the whole of yeshiva, a young yeshiva, and trying to put it on its feet and raise the money for it and find the accommodations, etc., and everything that needed to be done to build a yeshiva from scratch. And it was an enormous responsibility and a huge burden, a huge all. And I remember growing up that my father was so busy all the time. And a good portion of it, a huge portion, was the tzorchei tzibur. But he said many times, that he always thanks Meir Lubavitch. He always thanks Meir Lubavitch because he was right. Because he was absolutely right. My involvement in yeshiva gave me a connection with Rosh Yeshiva, gave me a connection with Talmidei Chachamim, and had an enormous influence on me and my family, and I have a tremendous hakaras hatov. Because it was that influence that helped me raise the Torah family. And I always thank him for it. Just to conclude on a similar note, that and this applies to all of us, and even the greatest of us, to always cleave to Talmidei Chachamim. I had the great schus to have a strong connection with a Rabbi Goyen, Rabbi Yehuda Lefkowitz, Tzadik Livrocha, and who guided us on many issues with Achenu, Kirv Rechoikim, and with Dirshu. And there was this following Maisa involving Rabbi Yehuda Zatzal. He was a Bacher learning in Vilna, in the Ramelis Yeshiva, many years ago. And one day, the Chofetz Chaim paid a visit to Vilna. So Chofetz Chaim comes, the whole town was excited, and everyone went out to greet the Chofetz Chaim. And Rabbi Yehuda was a young Bacher at the time, and he was learning Yom V'Layla, and he would not interrupt his learning for anything. And he was torn. What do I do? Do I interrupt my learning? How can I interrupt my learning? But then again, how can I not go and greet the Gadol, the Chofetz Chaim? What should I do? And the whole yeshiva went out to greet the Chofetz Chaim, and Rabbi Yehuda was torn, and he was agonizing. What should he do? But he made up his mind, and he had resolve, and he says he's not mevatel Torah for anything, he's never mevatel Torah, and he can't be mevatel a Seder, and he was going to stay alone in the yeshiva, and continue his learning, and he did not go out to greet the Chofetz Chaim. But he was learning non-stop and learning b'hasamada. Many years later, he was asked, did you regret your decision? What would you have done today? And he said, today I certainly would have gone out to greet the Chofetz Chaim. And he said with tears in his eyes, and he said, had I gone to greet the Chofetz Chaim, all my learning for the 70 years, these last 70 years, would have been totally different. If I had the merit of going out to greet the Chofetz Chaim, these past 70 years, learning would have been totally different. He said that with tears in his eyes. We have to attach ourselves to Chachamim, make our home a gathering place for Chachamim, seek the guidance of Talmidei Chachamim, and take in their words thirstily. And Be'ez Hashem, we should have the Siyata D'Shmaya, to have their hashpah and their guidance, and to be able ourselves to become Talmidei Chachamim.